We wanted to talk about today the idea of when you start something new. We have a lot of new people on here, and I know that when I first started in the insurance business and really just started working for myself, I got a little bit of shade from people like online on Facebook, family, friends that are like, "What are you doing? Why don't you go get a real job? Why don't you go do something that like it makes sense, right? Working online, it's not legit. My cousin's brother's nephew did insurance. He didn't make any money. There's a lot of shade that's kind of thrown at people when they first start an opportunity. And I'm sure that every single person on here has maybe gotten a negative comment or two about what they're doing, right? And the thing is I used to internalize that. It used to be something that really bothered me, like what other people thought about what I was doing. And I added a lot of validity to what they said, meaning, oh, they must know. They must know something I don't know. Or they must have some sort of insight that I don't. And the longer I've been here and the more I've kind of dealt with that over time, the more I realized that when people express that to you, when they express a concern of you branching out and doing something for you, that's coming from a place of fear within themselves. People are worried that we're going to either do something to hurt ourselves, or they're worried that you're going to change and they're not going to recognize you anymore. That's all coming from a place of fear. We fear change. We fear the unknown. We fear someone being different because that kind of shakes our equilibrium. And so we tend to be the recipients of that when we start something new. Throw it in the chat if you've received any shade at all for doing this business, for starting this. Maybe you announced it, maybe you shared it at a family gathering. Maybe you were just telling a friend and they didn't treat it with positivity like you'd hoped. Throw it in the chat if that's happened to you. And I wanted to kind of combat some of those comments. I already kind of said that that comes from a place of fear. And so that's the first step, is just recognizing that it's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about us doing something for ourselves and for our family. The negativity that comes your way when someone, does that, it's coming from a place of fear. So just recognize that it's not about you. It's about them and an insecurity that they have about what they think you're doing. Okay. Now, some of the things I want to see if I can see the chat here, see if there's some stuff that's been said here. Yep. Okay. So if you can remember something that someone said, I'd like to see it in the chat. Let's see if we can combat those. But I did write down a couple just for fun. So if you remember something that someone said to you, like specifically, put it in there and I can help with that. But I loved the one of, I know someone who did that. I actually had someone tell me this last week. My husband is an accountant and he has a lot of insurance agents as clients, and he said they don't make any money, so I don't want to do this. It's funny because that makes me laugh. And I know a lot of times, like in the beginning, that would have really discouraged me. Like, I'm trying to build my agency. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to find like-minded people to run this race with me, like everyone on here. And it's like, oh gosh, like, why don't you get it? But the thing is for yourself to protect your brain, realizing, okay, first of all, we don't know what type of insurance those agents are in that this person helps. We don't know what their activity level is. We don't know what their skill set is. We don't know what their company is. We don't know any of these things. So there's a lot of variables, right? It's not a blanket statement of insurance doesn't work, you don't make any money. In some insurance areas and some aspects of this industry, that is absolutely true. With some companies, that's absolutely true. With here, it's not. There are too many people winning. There are too many people showing up with no experience from all walks of life, from all age levels, winning here. And they're just following the same system that's available to all of us. We all, once you are an active agent, you all have access to HQ, which has the same information that I have access to. So the thing is when someone says something like that of, oh, they don't make any money, you have to question, and maybe not necessarily question them, because there's no point getting into an argument with people like that. but just in your mind, protecting yourself, remembering you can't control someone else's work ethic. You can't control what company someone else decided to go with. You can't control whether or not they're in the system that we're in. That you can't control those things. So you know you're in the right place. You know that you've got all the tools that you need, and that person's going to see you winning and eventually come your way. That's just how it goes. Sometimes it takes some time for people. Um, I love the pyramid scheme one. I'll address that here in a second, but let's see. Why do you think you would be good at, oh, commissions? Oh, Tom, why do you think you'd be good at commissions? Oh, that's a good one. So I was actually asked that maybe like 8 years ago when I started a commission-based business. And the thing is we get a lot of shade around commission sales because they're not reliable. Has anyone heard that? It's not reliable, right? Yeah. So is it more reliable than someone else deciding how much you're worth? Commission sales just means that you're being paid based off of your own activity. So if you're used to showing up 40 hours a week minimum, 8 hours a day, clocking in, clocking out, exhibiting all your effort into your job every single day, if you can do that same level of activity here, you're making 6 figures your first year. And that's pre-tax, which means you get to control what you get to deduct before you're even taxed on your income. You get the control. You get the control. You're issuing business to the carrier. They're paying you based off of that. You have the full report as to what you're being paid and why. You have access to that in every single agent portal with every single carrier. And it's just between you and them. I'm an agency director. I have no control over what Tom makes. I have no control over what Ibble makes. I have no control over what Margaret makes, or Josh, or Hunter. I have no control over that. They have the control. You have the control. So when someone says you're not good at commissions, or you think you would be good at commissions, that's just coming from a lack of understanding of what commissions really means. I would rather be the one that signs my own check than submit a pay stub to somebody, whether I worked harder or not as hard as someone else in the exact same position and we're paid the same. What feels better? Knowing that what you earned you specifically worked for or not? I like that one, Tom. I have to maximize this again here. So why are you doing this if you're not making money now? Ooh, why are you doing this if you're not making money now? So I like that one. That's a good one.
Can I take this one, Paige?
Please do. Yeah.
I love this one because, excuse me, as most of you know, right? I got to witness Paige in this business for a little over 2 years before I came on board. I was still working a full-time salary job. I got to see Tom go through the learning curve here. I watched Ibble go through the learning curve, and Josh and Margaret and I actually did the learning curve together, and she kicked my butt at it. So there was, I got to see this a lot of times. But why would you do this if you're not making money now? Because I'm choosing to bet on me. I'm not going to gamble on somebody else realizing my potential. I'm going to go all in on me. It's that simple. Going out, interviewing, going to job fairs, trying to get a job, trying to get hired, trying to find a new salary. You know why I'm here? Because I looked at the job market. We knew that when we got married, Paige and I knew that we wanted to get out of Chicago and come back to Idaho. And at that time in my career, I was making about $85,000, $90,000 a year. I had a good salary. Every job I looked at, same level of responsibility, same time commitment, same everything in Boise would have been at least a $20,000 pay cut. 20 years of experience in an industry, taking a $20,000 pay cut to live where I wanted. And I said, nope, I'm going to bet on me. I'm going to bet on Paige. I'm going to bet on our ability in this business. So if you're not making money now, why keep doing it? Because I'm betting on my future. I'm betting on my own potential. That's why.
Yeah. And everything that you do, every decision you make right now, every hour that you work, every little bit of effort you put into this, you're building something for you. You're building your own wealth. And it doesn't happen overnight. It took Amazon 9 years to see a single profit. 9 years. Here, you can be profitable in month one. You can be profitable in week one. That takes some luck. That not everybody's like that. So if that's not you, please don't overthink that. But you can be profitable here in month one. Tesla also took 9 years to show a profit. It's amazing. It's amazing. If we spent 9 years, like if you started at zero and I told you in 9 years you'd be looking like Amazon, would you kind of like let the haters be and focus on you? If we were rolling in it like Amazon is, which you can, insurance is the wealthiest industry in the world. There are more self-made millionaires in the insurance realm than any other industry on this planet. And it takes only an insurance license to do that. You don't have to have any other prior experience or education level. So yeah, you're not making money right now, but what's your life going to look like a year from now? What's it going to look like 2 years from now? What's it going to look like 10 years from now when that same person who said, why are you doing this? You're not making any money is asking you if they can ride in your car because it's a cool car. They're asking you for a loan because you're making all the money, right? They're expecting you to pick up the tab at dinner because you're the one that's clearly more successful. That's what your life's going to look like in 9 years from now and way sooner than that. I want to address one because I don't know if anyone else has gotten this, but I have. I certainly have. And it's this looks like a pyramid scheme. Has anyone gotten that in a recruiting conversation or with a family or friend? So here's the thing about a pyramid scheme. It's kind of like a warped concept because I think a lot of people think of a Ponzi scheme because that's the scheme, right? And the thing is Ponzi schemes are illegal. They're illegal. So that means that you can't do it. And any company that tries to do that, or usually it's an individual that tries to do that, ends up in prison. So like you're not getting into a Ponzi scheme in the insurance industry. We're federally regulated. You have to get a license. Nothing requires a license if it's a Ponzi scheme. So understand that now if a company's around longer than a year, it's not a Ponzi scheme. They're usually shut down by then. But the pyramid thing, this is interesting. So the issue with a pyramid in people's minds is the person at the top is making all the money. And the person at the bottom is not making as much money as the person at the top, right? So you have the first person in on a business. Then you've got people that they brought in. Then you've got people that they brought in. Then you've got people that they brought in and they brought in. And that's a pyramid, right? So the person who first got there makes more money than the person who just arrived, okay? Can we think of any other business model that's built like that? How about all of them? Do you think the founder of a company makes more money than the person who's at the check register? Yeah. Do you think that the founder of a company or the CEO makes more money than an area manager does? Do you think an area manager makes more money than a store manager does? Do you think a store manager makes more money than a shift manager does? How about a shift manager with the drive-through window operator? Do they make more money than them? Yeah. Every business is built that way. The person at the bottom typically makes less money than the person at the top. So that's no different in this industry. However, here, the person closest to the sale makes the most money. So if you protect a family and you just got here, you're making 80% of that commission, of that APV goes into your pocket. You have an upline, which you do. You're all hired here by somebody. They're making a small percentage from the carrier off of that, but it's nowhere near the chunk that you made. You make the most. So this is actually the least pyramid type model I have ever seen because you're coming in, you're protecting a family. The work that you do, you are paid the most for than anybody else, all the way up to Symmetry Financial Group. They don't make as much money per sale as you do on that sale that you made. So just understand that when someone, and it's always coming from a lack of knowledge, it's always coming from something that they heard somewhere on the internet or from a family barbecue, and they think that that's truth. But you've got the knowledge here. you've got the experience, you've got the trust in yourself to know that you're doing what's right for you. And if you're coming at this with the intention of, I'm being authentic, I am doing what's right for me and my family. I know that if I put in the work, I will reap the rewards. I see it every single week on every single leaderboard. You see people showing up and you see that they're coming from the same type of background from you, or maybe even a more difficult position than you. I see that all the time. People coming in that started off way more underground than I did when I started here. I didn't start here from a great place, but they've managed to silence the noise and focus on them. And you know what happens? You do that long enough, the noise starts to silence itself. But here's the thing, you have to still share. You have to still promote yourself. You have to not be a silent agent, because if you're silent, those around you are going to assume that they're right. They're going to assume that whatever they said was correct. So if you've got social media, which I think everybody on here does, then regardless of what you get, regardless of the commentary that you have, share what you're doing, share your wins, share the wins of what you see other people doing. Because the more you do that, the more you're going to get people asking you, hey, what are you doing? And how can I do it? Versus, that's not going to work. How can someone argue with wins? Actual, bona fide, legitimate wins. How can someone argue with that? Success is the best revenge, they say. And nothing feels better than winning and knowing that you did it on your own merit. You earned exactly what you have. There's nothing more empowering than that. Hunter, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Sorry, muted myself there. Yeah, I do. And I wanted to start just going backwards for a quick minute because Ibble made a great comment in the, excuse you, Ibble made a great comment in the chat here. Our company is, it's not a pyramid, it's a rectangle. And it took me a moment to try to kind of figure out what exactly she meant by that. But, you know, it did make me think of, as Paige was going down the line, CEO to area manager to store manager to shift manager to cashier. You know, what are the opportunities? What chances do we have in that structure to promote ourselves? Right? We don't. We're working and hoping that our performance is noticed by somebody else so that down the road, when a vacancy occurs, we have the potential to move up, right? Now, anybody play that game for a while? Couple years, couple decades? I'm going to work hard today so that hopefully someday down the road, somebody will see and remember my hard work when an opportunity becomes available. Because in corporate America, there is only one area manager per area. There's only room for one CEO at the top. There's only room for one CFO, one COO, one owner, right? There's only room for one. So somebody has to leave or die in order to create that vacancy that allows you a promotion. Now, Tom, who had to quit Symmetry for you to become an agency owner? Anybody?
No,
Josh, did anybody have to leave or resign to make room for you to become a team leader, or Ibble for you to
Nope.
become a key leader?
no,
No. That position was always there. It's always available for everyone. For everyone, non-competitively and non-exclusively. You are in control of your destiny here. So there is no pyramid, right? We just all elevate each other, one giant rectangle going towards the sun. Love that, Ibble. So thank you on that. You know, guys, this call was about silencing the noise, right? And focusing on what is really important here. And that is our personal desires, our goals for our families, our goals for our life down the road, what it's going to look like. And Paige made a great point about Amazon taking 9 years, right, to turn a profit. And, you know, we have the ability to do this much faster here. But let's talk a little bit of a hypothetical, right? If I were to tell you that you can put in the same amount of effort, the same amount of time, the same amount of energy that you put into your corporate job, and in 5 years, you'll never have to work again. Is that a reasonable amount of time? Is anybody here not willing to put in 5 years to get everything they want? What about 10 years? See, I'm 38 years old. In 10 years, I'm going to be 48. If I had stayed a chef, I would be a 48-year-old chef, probably working in somebody else's restaurant, probably taking their salary, probably doing 60 to 80 hours a week. And I'd have an IRA that wasn't going to be sufficient for me to retire until probably my mid 80s, right? Not in this economy. So is doing the uncomfortable thing here for 10 years worth it? I was talking with an agent recently who asked the question, how do you guys, asking about Paige and I, how do we summon the strength to keep going when we have a bad week, a bad day, a bad month? Where does that come from? How do we manage to stay positive and keep our belief in this business? And the answer is time, right? Sure, we'd like to hit the top of the company by the end of 2025. But is it any less wonderful if we hit it in 2026 or 2027? See, the opportunity doesn't go anywhere here. The opportunity for you to be the catalyst, not just for yourself, but for your entire family to change, doesn't go away. So whether it's day one for you or day 150, and you're feeling that frustration, just know every day can be day one. Every day is the opportunity for you to restart, re-engage, refocus, and rededicate yourself to your own personal and professional growth. Because that's what it comes down to here, right? We talk about this all the time. You'll hear Jamie Susie say it. What you focus on grows. Now, I have many times misinterpreted that phrase and applied it to the wrong things. What you focus on grows. Well, in a very macro sense, as a brand new agent here, what does that mean? Well, I need my show rate to get better. So I'm going to focus on my show rate and watch that grow. Or I need my close rate to get better. So I'm going to focus on my presentation and I'm going to watch that close rate grow. And those are all really good goals to have on a micro level. But when we talk about what you focus on or growing what you focus on, let's start thinking at a macro level. Because what happens when I grow? What happens when I become somebody who's above the noise? What happens when I become somebody who embodies a level of self-confidence, self-respect, and dedication that allows me to shake off the negative comments people make about what I'm doing? What happens when I become the kind of person who walks into a room with a head held high, knowing that I belong in any company, in any room? See, when I become that person, when I focus on growing myself, everything around me grows. I become the person who can empower rather than compete with my friend, my colleague, my downline. I become the person who can focus on creating leaders, not writers. I become the kind of person who focuses on people, not production. So what you focus on grows. I encourage you to reflect on that over the course of the day, the week, the month, when we're talking about things like staying above the noise and building our business and taking control of our schedules. These are all micro examples of the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is when you realize that what got you here is the problem and your growth is the solution, that new doors start to open. New paths are available. New timelines that you never would have envisioned before become a reality. I never thought the concept of retiring at the age of 40 was something anybody could contemplate, right? But it's real for me now. Certainly real for Paige, because I got lucky and I sang myself a younger lady. Certainly possible for Paige. It's possible for Ibel, for Josh. Tom can't retire by 40. He's already past that, but maybe by 55. So guys, the last thing I'll say here today, I'll kick it back to Paige to close us down, but what you focus on grows. Focus on you for now. Focus on you Focus on your personal development, your personal growth, and watch how that creates a ripple effect that expands out to everyone around you, personally, professionally, in every way. We get better by becoming better. So with that, Paige, back to you.
I think right there, close it down. Focus on you. Focus on what you can control. Focus on your activity. Silence the noise and pull your head up, see where you are a year from now, and ask yourself, was it worth it? Have a great Monday, you guys.